All right, it's one after Jason. Let's get started, man. So, thank everybody for joining our Intune in 30 webinar series. This is going to be something we're doing over the next 3 weeks where we have 3 different sessions. I'm going to be on all of them, and we're going to have some specialists in with me. Today, we have Jason Wallace. He's one of our senior cloud engineers on our Microsoft side of the house that does a lot of specifically Intune work for us. So this is session 1. It's called Modern Device Management. We're going to kind of dive into this. If you have any questions throughout the recording or through the webinar rather, please drop them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. We will be recording this, and I think we will send out a link afterwards as well. Amanda, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but we will be sending out links for the recording. So if there's something that, oh man, what did he say? I just want to go back and revisit that. The recording will be made available as well. So Jason, with that, are you ready to dive in?
Ready to go.
All right, sounds good. So the endpoint game, it's evolved tremendously, and there's been a lot of things that have happened as things have started to evolve over the landscape. And that's just where people work, right? And that's the thing that you've heard about for a long time. It was, where are you working today? How are you managing your devices? It's no longer is the device in network. It's like, what devices are people using to access everything across the board? And that kind of puts it in a challenge mode for a lot of IT admins. One, to make sure that any device that accesses information for the organization, that it's secure and that they have some type of control, whether it's making sure that the operating system is updated, making sure there's virus protection on there, just, other things like policy. Where is this individual at? Do we want to have location kind of specific do's and don'ts? Like if you're out of the country, you can't access our data because we don't trust the device. So there's a lot of different things that can be of concern for your environment with the ability to be able to connect from anywhere. So connecting from anywhere is great. I mean, I love it. I mean, if I can get to it on my phone in the airport, I'm gonna do it, right? Because that's just the world that we live in. But like I said, it's a nightmare for IT admins. I mean, Jason, when you're working with clients that we have, like, what are some concerns that you commonly hear come up?
Data spillage, lost devices. Those are the 2 big ones, because once that data leaves the secure network and is on a mobile device, it is up to the security of that device. And if it gets lost, how do we manage it? How do we make sure it's being wiped?
Yeah, so there's data leakage. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. Just not only about endpoints like we're talking about today, but just data and I don't think we can say a webinar without using this term. So we'll just go ahead and kind of pop that bubble without AI, right? So I mean, data leakage into AI and how the endpoints are accessing it, obviously that's going to be big as well. So with the complex device landscape, like we're talking about, I mean, it could be Windows devices, it could be Mac devices, it could be Android devices, it could be a lot of different types of devices. There's a lot of things. Is it company owned? Is it non-company owned? Is it BYOD? Is it a public kiosk that we need to manage? Like it brings us into like a plethora of resources, but there's still the same challenge. How do we manage them? How do we make sure, to your point, Jason, how do we make sure we secure the data depending on whatever device that we have out there? And it makes it hard for IT admins without one single pane of glass or one tool that they're using. So having a single pane actually helps with a lot of the IT admins on what they're trying to do. Like, do you want to go into one platform to manage Windows devices, another platform to manage iOS devices? I mean, answer is no, right? You don't want to go into multiple devices or multiple panes of glass. So you need to be able to have the ease of use for the admin. So what are you seeing, Jason? As I know, like we've just recently done a project together with a customer where they had different devices. So what were you hearing from them when you were in the weeds with them?
Yeah, the challenge was to understand what is a device. These days, a Windows 11 machine, an iOS device, and Android, they're all treated as device. They might get different policies, but really articulating and understanding so you can have those policies equally applied across all of your devices has always been a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, just like Windows devices is what everybody thinks of, and the poll that just came out. I mean, I'm not surprised that the highest percentage of people that are using Intune today, they have more Windows devices. But if you look at this, I mean, the answers on the other ones that came out, they're not small. Like, I mean, there's 25-ish% iOS devices, 20-ish% Mac devices, a little bit lower, like 10-ish% on Android devices. And look, Linux is kind of coming up, right? 5% of people that have responded so far have Linux device. That's a lot of different devices that's in the network that has access to your basically your IP as an organization, which is its data, right? The data for every organization is what you need to protect. And how do you protect that? That's the biggest challenge that we hear from a lot of people. So the first step is always, well, we got to enroll them, right? Because we can't control things if we can't see things. So if you don't know what's accessing the data across your data estate across your organization, and you don't have visibility, you don't know if it's a BYOD, you don't know if it's a corporate owned device. If you don't have that visibility on who's accessing it and from what and from where, then we're going back to Jason's point again, the data. That's what you want to protect. And if you can't see who has access or what has access, that could create a big problem. I mean, it used to be it was only corporate owned devices, but that's all people cared about because they were in network. And I'm going to say this again, like now it's people access it from anywhere. I do it from my phone in airports and coffee shops all the time. And so it's this BYOD is real. It's everything is bring your own these days. I mean, there's bring your own device, there's bring your own bandwidth, there's bring your own AI, there's bring your own whatever. And we have to be prepared for that. And with Intune, you can, because you don't have to manage them. You just have to enroll them so you can see what they're doing. And when they're enrolled, and I think we'll get to this in a little bit, the difference between enroll and management. But if you can enroll them and you have visibility and you can put policies on top of that, you're not managing it. IT is not managing my phone, but it is enrolled so they can see that, make sure that I have right compliance policies and configuration policies, which I know we'll get into. Jason will kind of dive into that a little bit. But because there's certain policies that I want to have as an organization that, if my phone doesn't meet that, then I'm going to be denied. So, I mean, BYOD, Jason, what are your thoughts? I know that, again, the last project that you and actually 2 projects ago, the one that we worked on, BYOD was really big for them.
It was. It all depends when it comes down to how much that end user is willing to have that mobile work on their phone and have someone manage their device. There is a difference between that Intune enrolled and fully managed. But it comes down to that company's data, that the company's security is paramount. All it takes is one bad device, one stolen device, and it is completely compromised. And that goes for the entire network.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you mentioned on it too. So let's talk first about which devices are supported, which you'll look at the screen, that's a lot. I mean, there's Apple, almost any current device. Now there's going to be some older devices, like if you have like an iPhone, I don't know, what is it, 5 or 6, like they can't go up to some of these new iOS updates. Obviously those aren't going to be impacted. Most of the Android platform, even Chrome OS, that's a newer thing that when I was building this specific slide, I did not realize that the Chrome OS is now, it can be enrolled. You can't manage it, but you can enroll it, which is a newer thing. Obviously most of the Microsoft platforms, I don't think there's one that it's missing. And some Linux stuff. It used to be it was only Red Hat, and now that's kind of growing a little bit. So you can see how they're trying to make it where it's one platform for all. Because before, what they were doing on the Mac side of things, but whether it was iOS or Mac specifically, it was very kind of lackluster. You could do certain things, but if you look at what they've done in the past, I would say year and a half-ish, the feature parity between other platforms that manage Apple devices and what Intune can now do, that feature parity gap, that's super minimal now. I mean, it's almost 1-to-1 now, like what you can do for Macs. I mean, have you seen that as well?
I have.
So when we talked about enrolled and managed, you want to kind of dive in a little bit on, not too deep, but like the differences?
The differences between enrolled and managed?
Yeah.
Yep. So enrollment is you're self-enrolled, you agree to the terms and conditions, it's a zero-touch provisioning. It is all streamlined through that enrollment. I can see the device, I can make sure it's had to the latest and greatest updates or becomes out of compliant, but it's not fully managed. So I am not saying containerizing my application, preventing copy and paste, preventing any data to be outside that container that's built onto the device. Those are probably the best high levels way to detail what a managed and enrolled is. There's 1,000 other differences, but those are probably some of the best and the highest.
Yeah, and there was a message or a question that came in the chat. It's quite a good question. It says, with Microsoft mobile apps that can be downloaded to any personal phone, how do you ensure that those devices get enrolled into Intune? So it's kind of like you were leading down that track a little bit. Do you want to kind of elaborate a little bit further on that? Because you mentioned zero touch, and then I mentioned the portal before.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways within that company portal that you can push out on that phone, whether they're enrolled or managed. You can require an app to be installed. You could require an app to be uninstalled. You know, a good example is if this was a school or a government phone, I'm not going to have TikTok on there. It has to be removed. If it's not removed, it's not compliant. But you can also give the option to install a whole variety of different programs within the company store that the company itself supports.
Yep, no, great answer. And I put actually a video that I'm going to go up to here as soon as I click the next slide. It's going to kind of show how you can enroll a BYOD device. It's a real quick video, but it's it'll go into a little bit of what you were just talking about with the company portal as well. So let's cue that up. The audio coming through? So Jason, there was a follow-up to the question, and it's a good follow-up. So it says, you're saying that we have a way to see personal devices that have downloaded Microsoft mobile apps and are accessing our M365 environment if they are not enrolled in Intune. So like the video was kind of suggesting, you can have policies that are set up that in order to access company policies that they have to be enrolled or managed. But if you don't have that, can you see devices? It's a kind of a maybe, depends on what they're accessing. I don't know if you want to kind of add to that. What I mean by maybe is like you can see if somebody's accessing email from a phone, but you can't see what the phone is.
And you couldn't see what other applications that they have. So the short answer is no, you would really need that Intune component to visually see what you're looking for, what the question is looking for.
So hopefully that answered the follow-up. But what I was getting at, you can require that any device that needs access to any company data that is inside your tenant or any application that you have inside your enterprise apps, you can have a stipulation, basically a conditional access policy, that if it's not enrolled or if it's not managed, then it cannot access the data. So hopefully that gives a little bit more clarity. So if you just allow them to download apps and you don't have that conditional access, then to Jason's point, pretty much no, you can't. But you can circumvent that with a conditional access policy. So let's talk about device lifecycle with Intune. This is something they've been developing and adding to. It's always been there, rather, but they have been adding this, in embellishing and enhancing this. You want to take this one, Jason?
Yeah, sure. So Enrollment, like we talked about before, it's a cross-platform. Intune is meant to be device agnostic. Our goal is to manage the end device and the applications and the security. We talked about that self-enrollment, the custom terms and conditions, which is great, is because when you enroll the device, that end user must accept your acceptable use policy. So if anything ever happens, you have that documented. So that key takeaway is enrollment is the first step to bring devices under secure, managed control while balancing flexibility that bring your own device and automation for corporate assets. And happy to pop over the configuration.
Yep. Yeah, if you just want to walk through the whole device lifecycle, I mean, configuring, absolutely. Like you're talking about enrolling and then configuring, this is where this is really going to help people. And then the next one as well.
Yeah, so that life cycle is just like a life cycle of identity from start to finish and everything in between, what it can and cannot have access to. So the configuration part is I can push critical settings, I can force updates must happen, I can do certificates, I can do VPNs, and of course I can even do Wi-Fi profiles. So a good example is I walk into a corporate office, automatically connects to the corporate Wi-Fi safely and securely, already has the certificate, already has the Wi-Fi. I can deliver mandatory line of business apps, apply device restrictions. A good example on a laptop, I don't want to have USB sticks, so my data just doesn't disappear. Turn off cameras, depending on what type of device it is. Could be your feature settings and productivity and compliance settings. So the key takeaway is this configuration ensures devices meet organizational standards, from day one, reducing risk and supporting productivity. So the next big push on that is to protect it. This is where those company policies really put that cement wall all around your data, around your applications, what it can and cannot do. Conditional access is a great way to manage that device and the identity. You can prevent jailbroken phones, you can have risky devices, be non-compliant, force non-use. You could even make sure they can't access company resources. Control that data flow from copy and paste. My phone is enrolled. I always get annoyed that I can't copy a phone number out of Teams and pop it into my phone, but that's for everything across the board. But just think about that. I could be copying and pasting very sensitive company data. We could push Defender with endpoint. And then also manage it from an endpoint perspective. That's a very key takeaway. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, the Defender, I was going to say the Defender portal and the Intune portal, they work very, very good together. So, I mean, if you're holistically into the Microsoft ecosystem with your bundle sets, with your E3s and your E5s, and you're using the Defender products as well, it gives you a greater sense of what's going on in your environment because you can see a lot more detail with the two portals together. But if you're not, it doesn't matter if you're not using Defender. I mean, there's other kind of protection, other like Palos and Cisco's and all those that have endpoint protection as well. And you can push those out and make sure they're kept up to date as well. So it's not just the Microsoft application from a security and protect stack. It's whatever you're using. And the jailbroken one, that's a big one that a lot of people don't realize is still a big thing today, especially with the younger generations that are coming up, that they want to do as much as they can with their phones. And so they do jailbreak them. And you can have a policy that sets in there. If it's a jailbroken device, they just can't access it. And that's a big thing that a lot of people aren't aware that's out there.
And that could happen when you try to enroll the device or after you enroll the device. So it continuously checks that compliance.
Yeah, good call out there. Yeah, it's a continuous thing. It's not a one and done. Yeah, good call out on that.
Yeah, and so the key takeaway is just focus on safeguarding the corporate asset, whether that's a BYOD, but that corporate asset is that data that's being taken out the door. and resources while maintaining the user productivity, because you don't want to take anything away, but you got to keep it secure. And in the end, we're supporting a retire. We can quickly revoke access to a corporate resource for non-compliant, and that's all can be automatic in the background based off those policies. We get a call, I lost my phone, I left it here. We can do a selective wipe, remote wipe, and then we can audit and track lost or stolen phones. So it really gives that if something's bad's going to happen, our goal is to make that as minimally impactful as possible. I can give you a 99.999 or 100%, but if something does go wrong, we've got all these tools that will absolutely help prevent it being the worst case scenario. So kind of conclusion on that is just to support that retirement phase to ensure that security and compliance throughout the device lifecycle, while protecting both user privacy and corporate data.
And a couple of things on that too. So if it's a managed device, because you talked about the difference between managed and enrolled. If it's managed, we can wipe it, right? You can remotely wipe it if it's a managed device. Now, if it's just an enrolled device, anything that has been put on it based on the company portal, say email as an example, you gave them access to Outlook because of the company portal. Now you can remove that application, but you cannot wipe the machine or the device, but you can remove the application that was downloaded because of the portal. There's a big difference in this. A lot of people say, I don't want to enroll my device because then they can wipe it. No, they cannot. If they manage it, that's a different story. But if it's just enrolled, anything company-wise that you put through the portal can be removed. And that's it. And that's the only thing it can see. I think you talked about that too. But if it's enrolled, the only thing that it can see is what you've put on from the portal, not any other application. So it can't see phone calls that you're making. It can't see Facebook as an example. It can't see those things if it's enrolled. That's a big thing, managed versus enrolled there. Another thing with Intune, remote help. Granted, this is part of the Intune Suite license. It's not in the Intune Plan 1 or Plan 2. You got to have the uplift. But remote help is now out there too. So you don't need this third-party app to remote into a machine to help somebody. So that's a newer feature that I feel like a lot of people aren't aware that's there. That's pretty slick. Have you messed with that yet?
I have not. It's a cool new feature that I'd like to get my hands into.
Yeah, I've helped a couple clients. They've set it up themselves, and I kind of walk them through it. And it's, if you've ever used like a Screen Connect, it's very similar application how it can do that. Just everything's done inside the Intune portal. But I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with it. So what I'm trying to get at here is from the time you get the machine to the time you need to retire the machine, or if we're talking enroll, from the time somebody onboards to somebody offboards, Intune can handle the entire life cycle of that device, no matter which one it is. And so we move over to configuration profiles. You touched on this a bit, but I mean, this gives you a lot of control, and it's not just to Windows devices, right? I mean, it's to a lot of different devices that you can have configuration profiles on. And yeah, compliance. This is one I know that we want to spend a couple minutes here because I've touched on this a couple of times. You've touched on it a couple of times. The jailbreaking thing, right? That's a compliance kind of thing. You want to make sure that it's a legitimate operating system. These are compliance and conditional access policies you can have. If you see this, you can see where it says grant right there, and it says grant access or block access. And if it's like an example, you see the little checkbox that says require MFA. So if it's a new device that they're enrolling, or maybe it's they're at a new IP address, they're not in the corporate office, and they're at a remote, like how I mentioned several times, I'm always in an airplane or in an airport. Anytime I authenticate from a new IP address that's not listed in the system, I can require myself to MFA in. Anything you want to add to any of that?
Yeah, so I mean, we get those initial compliance policies from Intune, and they're evaluated as compliant, but the evaluation is continuous. So if something changes, like you just said, it will always recheck that compliance. And if something's out of compliance, you will be notified, told how to fix it. And if you don't, you become uncompliant. You will lose those access to resources.
Yeah, and a good example of that. So I'm going to use my personal one again. Say I'm at home, I'm at my home IP address, and it's known in the system that this is good, this is where I'm constantly working, and then the home router resets for whatever reason. And if you're on home Wi-Fi or home broadband, and anytime your modem resets, there's a chance that you're not going to get the same IP address. And now you're logging back in. It's like, Why am I having an MFA in again? I haven't left my location because it's a new IP address and it's not known into the system. So it's going to make you MFA because it doesn't know if your device has been stolen. Same thing like airports and coffee shops and like that. It's your device, but maybe somebody took it. And so that's why it's showing up from a new IP address, AKA location. It wants to make sure that your policies are being adhered to and that your data is being protected. So with that, a lot of stuff. This is just the first of 3 sessions that we're talking. We're doing these in 30-minute increments because we know time is valuable for everybody. So we touched on modern device management. Hopefully you understand that it's not just Windows machines. And if you're ready to start the modernization journey, please reach out to your account manager if you're a current A&M customer. If not, you can reach out to Microsoft at ANM.com. It comes to me and the entire team. If you're already using Intune, which I know a lot of people in the poll said they were today, and you want a second set of eyes on it, our engineers, such like Jason, could come in and evaluate your current environment and give you recommendations to make it stronger. If you need help planning or deployment, we specialize in that. Jason and the team do great work on getting Intune set up for a lot of different organizations that we have. It doesn't matter if it's government, doesn't matter if it's education, doesn't matter if it's nonprofit, doesn't matter if it's commercial or enterprise. Everybody's slightly different, and we can make sure that the platform is built for your specific organization and how you do it, and make sure that we are doing the industry preferred practices as well. If you're interested in our other 2 sessions that we have coming up next week, same time. Same time next week, we're going to do Zero Trust in Action, where Chad, one of our data center solution architects here at A&M, is going to join you. We're going to talk about how you can use Intune to bolster your zero trust framework for your organization. And then the week after that, we're going to do app and endpoint management with another one of the engineers on the team that we're going to kind of dive in deeper on some specific use case and how we can manage those policies a little bit more. So with that, Jason, I really appreciate your time joining me today. I know this was a quick hit, but I felt like we got a lot of information out there. So I appreciate anybody or everybody for attending. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So we'll get them answered, and we'll get them out to you. And there's the QR codes again. If you want to join the next ones, go ahead and register for those as well. So Jason, again, I really appreciate it, man.
Yep, anytime. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.
Yep, take care, guys.